But this industry is cutting edge, and they are willing to listen to any entrepreneur, anybody that's in the industry has an idea. They will give you the time of day. They will listen to your pitch. They will probably provide you with constructive feedback, and they will probably make your product better. And they'll do it hand in hand in the spirit of the greater good of the industry. And I think that right there is pretty cool and pretty unique to our industry.
You may know the American Railway Engineering and Maintenance of Way Association, or AREMA, as the, quote, keepers of the manuals. You may know them as the, quote, people behind the largest annual railroad conference in North America. Heck, you may not know about AREMA at all. This podcast is designed, no pun intended, to change your view of who AREMA is and how AREMA has changed the trajectory of many railway careers over its 100-plus year history. Welcome to Platform Chats with your host, Walt Bleser, where he takes a moment to discuss the impacts AREMA has had on the very people who are proud to be called members. Are you ready to roll with AREMA?
ARE Corporation is a proud supporter of AREMA and Platform Chats. If you are looking to take your railway structures career to the next level, or simply start it down the right track, please visit us at arecorp.com. Please see our brand new job postings on our careers page or on our LinkedIn page.
Hello and welcome everybody to Platform Chats. Today's guest is none other than the creator of Platform Chats. You know him as a trailblazer in the railroad industry, Mr. Walt Bleser II, PE, President and CEO of ARE Corporation. My name is Keith Bailey. I am the host. I was once a guest on this show, and Walt and I had a conversation. He's like, hey, what would it look like if I were the guest and you were to interview me? So it's the old switcheroo that we're having here today. And a little bit about Walt, if you don't know Walt well enough. You know him for his bold leadership, his gift for building high-performance teams. Walter is driving innovation across the industry while helping shape its future through his work with AREMA and a little side project that he's got that you all are here listening to today, none other than Platform Chat. So, Mr. Walt Bleser, welcome to your own podcast. It's a pleasure to have you here, my friend.
It's a pleasure to be here. I am absolutely stoked that this is happening. I'm also stoked that I found those little buttons at the top of the screen that allow me to play music like that, Keith. This is kind of the brainchild of the AREMA headquarters staff, and I have to give them a lot of credit that they've been asking for a while. Like, hey, what if we interviewed you? And I said, well, it's not really about me. And I'll be honest, we're entering our 5th year. And we have covered so much ground and we've done so much cool stuff. I don't want to say we're running out of topics. That's not what I'm saying, but I am saying we're trying to get creative and we're trying to keep listeners interested in coming back and continuing to download Platform Chats, which, by the way, we just breached over 10,000 downloads of the podcast, which I think is...
Congratulations.
I know, right? 10,000. That's unreal because if I remember right, this is episode 42. And so that's pretty good numbers given the cadence is not, we're not doing this every week, Keith.
Agreed. And a 5-year overnight success. I mean, look at you. It's so easy. Anybody can do this. A question that I have on this with this 5-year overnight success piece is what are some of the trials that you've had in this, and then what are some of the things that you continue to celebrate with Platform Chats that keeps bringing it back just year after year?
Yeah, I think there's a book out there. It's a pretty good book, and its first chapter is Genesis, and so maybe we should talk about the genesis of this podcast. I'll be honest with you, professional, and I know Keith. If folks don't know Keith by his voice. You would definitely know him by his mug if you were in AREMA, because he has been the MC for our national conference for 2-3 years now, going on 3, right?
Going up on year 3, yeah, that's correct.
Which is cool. And I met Keith when I was at his first conference, and turns out we have a lot in common. Heck, I think we went to the same high school, which is strange that we're now both out here in Denver.
We went to K-State.
Oh,
as
that's
well.
right.
Same college. We're both wrapped around the axle cyclists.
We are. This
Yet
is
we've
true.
yet to ride bikes together.
Because we're getting old, and I had my heart condition. You hit a park bench. There's been some. We've had our own trials and tribulations in our personal lives, but one of these days, when you slow down and you're not crisscrossing this country hosting events, we'll have to do that. But getting back to your question, yeah, I think a lot of professional organizations approaching COVID. So before COVID, we're seeing a decrease in membership year over year. People were not re-upping. People were not seeing the value of being a member of a professional organization, and AREMA was definitely not immune to that. And we were seeing a decrease back in, I think it was 17, 18, 19. I can't remember, but year over year, we were starting to see a drop. And as a leader and a board member of AREMA at that time, I couldn't help but put my hand up and say, we got to fix this. Like, this is a great organization. There's a lot of value here beyond just updating and keeping technical manuals up to date. And in the meeting, generally when you put your hand up in a volunteer organization, that means you just volunteered. So I will tell you, I've always wanted to host a podcast. There was a gentleman in the room, Mr. Frank Miller. He did bring up APTA. APTA is a American Public Transportation Authority. Don't quote me on that. They had a series at their national convention, which is quite large. They had a series of professionally recorded videos of some of the leaders within the organization and long-term members of that organization, and it was tell your story. And they were talking about how they got to where they were in the career and how the organization helped them along the way. And I said, hey, why don't we do that? Let's change the medium here. Our demographic is changing. We are doing things differently. We used to hand out, we used to have to ship the manuals, and then it was, you get proceedings of the conference on a CD-ROM, and then it was a thumb drive, and then it was everything is slowly evolving. Let's evolve how we reach out to our membership. And a lot of our younger staff, they love podcasts. I love podcasts. Podcasts are a fun way to, you're in control of the content you want to listen to. And it could be your commute to work in the morning. It could be your evening walk with your dog, whatever. It's fun to just kind of learn and listen to a number of topics. And so, yeah, I put my hand up in the air, and I had just recently been interviewed on a couple podcasts about my heart condition. So it was kind of cool, because I was like, wow, this is not as hard as I thought. So I spoke to one of the hosts, and she, who actually is, I'm letting out all the secrets here. She is the host of the Maximum Enthusiasm podcast here in Denver. And she's actually the voice on the intro and outro of Platform Chats. And her name is Megan Hotman, and she connected me with the software to do the recording, the studio, the production staff, the whole thing. She was a huge help, big inspiration. And yeah, we rolled out the first episode I guess that'd be 22, 21. My math is horrible. Yeah, okay. I think it was 21.
One of the things about Platform Chats, I think, is that I've really loved listening to the episodes is the human interest story, and the fact that we get to know people that are in industry that are doing incredible things, and then we go to the conference, we have a chance to meet them, but you really bring them in and really unpack a lot of how it is they got into the industry and the impacts that they're having. What are some of the conversations that you've had with different guests on the show that just continue to resonate with you to this day?
That's, great question. I will tell you that the industry at large, when I joined it, so a lot of what you're seeing in Platform Chats is you're looking at it through a lens of my own lens, meaning, when I came on board in 2002, I think, or 3 was my first conference. It was a very intimidating industry. It was very old school, not to say it's not still, but it was very old school. It just seemed like there was a lot of pomp and circumstance around the conference. I didn't really understand how certain individuals got to certain places within not just AREMA leadership, but within their own career trajectories. And as a young guy, it's like, well, you guys want me to sign up for a leadership position within AREMA, and well, let's see here. The secretary position is 3 years, and then the vice chair is 3 years, and then chair is 3. Like that's a 9-year. That's a long time. When you're in your 20s, 9 years feels like an eternity, and there's not a great clear path as to like why should I do this. So through these conversations, I think the coolest thing is just ripping down the walls and tearing down any of the intimidation, and just realizing that your guest puts his pants on the same way you do when he gets up, right? Like these are just human beings. They're normal people. And when you, I don't want to use the term humanize them, but when you just tear them off of a pedestal of a very high position within a large, well-respected organization and just sit down and talk to them, you realize, and I hope that the listeners realize, like, hey, they're just like me. And I could get there someday. That's inspiring. Maybe I don't want to work on steel railway bridges, but hey, like I'd like to work on the Hyperloop. That's not so far outside of the realm of possibilities, right? So I think that's been key, and that's how we started. We started with interview. I think our first episode was with Ed Sparks, who he's been in the industry for over 200 years now. And I think his experience it just shows. And he was a great first guest. We talked a lot about the history of AREMA, and I think that episode has the most downloads. We've evolved now to other, sorry for the long answer, but we've evolved to other topics. We're trying to interview a lot of the sister organizations to get, hey, maybe AREMA is not the place for you. You want to go to be a part of the Shortline Association or NRC or one of these other groups that is a sibling, is how I'd look at it. But yeah, I mean, to answer your question, it's really just trying to inspire based on, hey, like this wasn't predestination. Like some of these people, yeah, sure. I guarantee you there's people that are in this industry whose great grandfather worked for the Pennsylvania Railroad, and every generation since has been a part of the railroad. I guarantee those people are out there. But one of my favorite guests on here was Erica Brunke. Her story, she was looking for the BASF tent, which is a very different company, not in the railroad industry. And she ended up at the BNSF tent and at the career fair, and was like, okay. So she submitted her resume, and next thing you know, she's part of the railroad industry. And she's doing great. Like if you paid attention to our industry, you probably know her name. It's so she stumbled into it, right? I think this could be the point where I'm rambling, Keith, and I apologize.
It's okay. This is your show, but you're still telling a story, because you and I talked a little bit about this person. Like one vowel changed everything in their entire lives, and I think that's such an important thing is showing up and being there and building those connections. One of the things that you mentioned just a moment ago, I want to come back to this, is you've been involved for such a long time. When you first joined, you're like, what is this? The pomp and circumstance, and it's just, everything is just old school. But over time, you've established yourself, and it's with any organization, right? It eventually turns into Cheers. And that's what we want to have, right? It's a show back from the 80s, like where everybody knows your name. There's nothing better than showing up and seeing old friends and making those connections. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk directly to those members that have been a part of AREMA for a couple of years, or they're just coming into this. What are the things that they can do to build that belonging? Because that allows us to have purpose as to why that I'm showing up here. You've been a committee member for over 20 years. What advice do you have for those that are in this industry that are still looking for that belonging, and what can they do to give back to this community? How can they get involved?
Great question. Again, you're on today, and I appreciate. I will tell you this. When I got involved, number one, when you come out of school, you don't really know what you want to do. Most people don't But assuming you're working for a consultancy or a supplier or a railroad, and you are in your, like you said, what, 1, 2, 3 years, I think you have to be an associate member. I should know this. I think it's like 2 or 3 years before you can be a full-time member and or have some other certification. I don't remember now, but here's the, I had some advice from a individual. So I worked for a consultancy called HNTB right out of school. So I had an internship in 2001 where we were crawling all over a railroad structure down in Tucumcari, New Mexico, and it was the coolest thing. It was just this huge steel viaduct over a chasm and a canyon, excuse me. And we got to crawl over it, climb up and down it, created a 3D model of it back in the office. It was just a really, really fun and interesting thing and to work on. I mean, all the drawings we had of it were linen, hand drawn from the late 1800s. And it really sparked my interest in being involved in the industry. And so that's how I got my start. That's how I got in that railroad space. And after about 2 or 3 years working on the railroad stuff, I started to, I wanted to be, I was a member of AREMA, but I was like, okay, I got to make this not work for me, but I want to be more involved. And so that's when I joined a committee. And before my first committee meeting, an individual who was in my office at the time, he goes, you got a second? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, come here. He takes me into a conference room. He goes, listen, I know you're about to fly out to this committee 7 meeting. You need to understand that those that are on this committee, you've got the ex-chief engineer of the Southern Pacific. You've got a current, like next in line chief engineer of Union Pacific. You got some high rolling guys that have seen a lot, right? Like these guys have seen a lot in the industry, specifically around timber structures, et cetera, et cetera. So what my advice to you is keep your mouth shut. Like, don't challenge these individuals. You're in a world of 30, 40, 50-year careers, you're nobody. So you need to listen to what they have to say, and don't challenge them. If you want to challenge them, if you have questions, ask them questions on the side, and then make sure when the meeting is over, you go to the bar with them. That's where you're really going to get to know these guys. Probably the best advice I ever got, because for several years, I was just a sponge. I was just, there was no reason, and I'm not just so we're clear, I am not the type of guy that's going to challenge anyone on anything technical in this industry. I don't see the point. We've been doing things for a long time in a similar fashion, and we know what works. We know what doesn't work. I'm not going to be the young buck coming out of school to flip the system on its head, but coming out and just sitting there and listening to what they had to say, and then asking the questions. And next thing you know, it becomes personal. And next thing you know, these people become your mentors. And then the next thing you know, you're 10, 12 years into your career, and you've built this system without even knowing it, of extremely well respected individuals in the industry that basically have your back. And when you want to make the next jump, like I did, which was to do something entrepreneurial, which was scary at the time, and you walk through the doors of a Fortune 500 company and you're trying to sell your widget, there's a friendly face on the other side. And it didn't matter that I switched business cards or logos on my business card. It was like, we know you. And AREMA gave me that opportunity to prove that I am who I say I am. I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do. And it doesn't matter if it's sitting around the conference room table talking about Committee 7 material, or if it's me trying to push, a unproven product in the industry.
Yeah. I love what you're talking about here, because what I'm hearing is you're really painting a clear picture of the importance of not just belonging to an association and showing up and going through the motions. You're talking about the benefits of being involved in an association and sitting at the table and gleaning and learning and eventually getting involved in that dialogue and conversation, building and strengthening the knowing, the liking, and the trusting of relationships. In my business, we call that making investments in relationship equity, because at some point you're going to have to ask and have to make a withdrawal. And if that foundational relationship is really strong, that's able to happen. And you alluded to that. I just want to pivot into that a little bit. You alluded to that when you talked about ARE Corporation. So let's talk about what were some of the trials, the triumphs in the business of ARE Corporation from when you started it to where it is today, in the relationships that you've cultivated within AREMA.
Yeah. I'll actually take it back a step before that. ARE Corporation, I did not start. I will, but I'll get to it. So the company that I did start was a company called Sensor, and you didn't know that, so there's no reason for you to know that. But there was three of us that started a little monitoring company, and we pivoted. We had just left. So I was working for a company called, like I said, HNTB, and we had built a pretty cool software product that is still in use today at Metro North Railroad in New York City. And it's a cloud-based database inspection and bridge management system. And for one of the largest commuter railroads in the country, one of the busiest, constantly fighting with their brethren, Long Island Railroad, to see who's got more trains moving through New York City. And awesome experience. HNTB was awesome to allow me to have that experience. At the time, they had a pretty cool technical incubator that I was a part of. It allowed me to basically be an entrepreneur within the walls and confines of the safety net of a paycheck and a corporation. However, I will tell you, it was a blessing and a curse because they gave me that freedom. It also tickled an itch that was I really wanted to do it on my own. Right, I really wanted to fly without the safety net of the big corporation. So I went on to do this, a company called Sensor, and we started in 2013, and we actually eventually did sell that to a great company, a railway supplier called Georgetown Rail Equipment in Georgetown, Texas, or GREX. And awesome experience. But to your point, when you leave the confines of that big safety net, let's be honest, like, you're jumping, right? You have an idea, you think it's going to work. I think we made improvements to that product for 7 years, constant improvements. I mean, we were still making improvements till the day I left. The trials, again, to your point, the equity withdrawals, to give Union Pacific a huge shout out. I mean, Jeff Mancuso, who at the time was my contact there, he took a big leap of faith and put our products on multiple bridges, and a lot of them worked great. And I will tell you, we had some issues with lightning striking and thunderstorms, and middle of the night, the system goes down, and how do we make this more robust? And those are tough calls to take. And at the end of the day, though, he knew when he picked the phone up, called me, I said, "Hey man, I got it. We'll figure it out. I got it." And I always did. And we always did. And he remembers that. Like, he took a leap of faith on me. I delivered, and we took that product all over the place in North America. And it was a fun ride, but every step along the way, I'm using Jeff as a example, but he was my first big customer back in 2014. And so that would never, ever have happened if it was not for the time I spent with him from 2005 to 2012 at AREMA. I just didn't have any other interaction with the gentleman, so, he was moving up in his career. I was moving up in mine. So it's pretty cool to be able to do that and to have that relationship and that strength of relationship to lean on, like you said. And then later down the road, to your point, in 2020, I did leave the organization and took some time off. And I did get a call from the ownership group of ARE Corporation, and they wanted me to help them restructure their company. And that's what I've been doing for about 4 years now. And similarly, now a different product line, different office, different services, same relationships though, Mr. Sparks, Ed Sparks there at CSX. He was number one on the episode 1 on Platform Chats, but he took my call because, again, that AREMA I like to call it a spine, or it provides that opportunity for a young individual or any age individual to come in, roll their sleeves up, show that they know what they're talking about in a space that is not commercial, and build the trust of whichever customer they are working for, or working, it can be flip side if they're an owner, right? And if you know this, Keith, you've been around enough to know that this is a super small niche marketplace that we play in, and relationships are everything. There's only, 6 class 1 railroads, right? So plus the short lines, but there's 6 big, that's when you come out of a marketplace where there's thousands, or if you're in B2B, right? Or I'm sorry, B2C, there's millions of customers, like what you're doing. I bet it's different when there's, if you make one upset, you just lost 1/6 of your market share.
Yeah, that's a huge impact. Since my time with AREMA, I've as the MC, I've had the chance to sit in the back in the green room with presidents and past presidents, and one of the conversations I had with past President Ray Varel, in the first time I met him, and just what an incredible leader, and just a human being, just the chance to be able to connect with him. And one of the things that we talked about, and I'd love to get your insight. Let's look into the crystal ball. One of the things that he shared with me is like there's a huge sea change that's coming to the railroad industry, because we've been fixing it and bolting on and repairing the infrastructure we have, and it's at a limit. We can't continue to rig it anymore. There has to be a whole new infrastructure placement. What are some of your visions of what is going to be happening over the next, let's keep it short timeline here, over the next 5 years? What are some of the things that we can expect to see happening, and what are some of the opportunities that exist for those that are coming into this industry?
I think that's a complex question, and here's first I'm going to say. I work in the railroad bridge structures space mostly. Okay. What a little known fact I believe that most people don't know is the railway structures in this country, they were designed for a impact and live load that is much greater than many of the carloads that we see today. And what I mean by that is we have a short memory, other than maybe my children reminding me by putting YouTube on and showing me the Union Pacific big boy flying by, and with the black smoke billowing and the big wheels and chug, 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 chug. That was how this all started, right? And so our railroad structures are in phenomenal condition. Structurally, I don't think we've had a structural failure of a railroad structure due to live load in a long, over 150 years, I would say, maybe 100 years. So I heard a guy once, a gentleman from TTCI, quote that we might have reached midlife of some of these structures.
Oh,
it's pretty awesome. Like I hope the traveling public is comforted by that. We do have that advantage of a high live load to dead load ratio, which makes for a pretty conservatively designed structure, but also we don't have the salt, right, from the snow. The highway departments are spraying salt and trying to stop the ice. We don't have that on our steel structures. We have control of our consists, right? So we can direct heavy loads where we need to direct them to not put undue stress on our structures if we need to. The highway department doesn't have control over any of that. I don't know the last time you went up skiing up I-70, but that'll remind you what the traveling public's like here. So it's wild. It's uncontrollable. I guess you can't fix stupid if you want to say that, but there is the ability with what we're doing is very what I like to say is controlled. So let's dovetail that into what you were talking about. What I'm seeing and what I think we're going to see as it relates to railway maintenance is it's fine tuning of capital planning. It's becoming, we're getting so good at it. And I think the owners are such phenomenal experts of the structures that they own. I'm going to pick on BNSF, for example. We've done quite a bit of work with them on this. It's not quite, but we are starting to approach airline maintenance. What I mean by that is if you look at these 737s that are flying around, right? These Boeings. Let's use Southwest, for example. They're only flying 737s, right? So those planes those are not new planes. There are a lot of those planes that are 20, 30 years old, right? But people generally get rid of your vehicle after 5 to 10 years. That's the typical turnover rate. So how are these planes carrying 200 plus people with an impeccable safety record when it comes to airline maintenance? How are they doing it? Because they're able to go in there and they know the lifespan of every single bearing, every single blade, every single piece of aluminum, and they go in there and they replace it ahead of time. And I think where we're getting in the rail industry is we have that knowledge base. We have this amazing ability to stand on a foundation or a database of records hundreds of years old, 150 years old. Like we know when it's time to replace ties. We have technology out there scanning these ties with not only lasers, but they're scanning them with X-rays. They're looking through the ties at 30 miles an hour. They know exactly when it's time to replace those ties. They know when it's time to replace the rail. They know, to give a shout out to AREMA, who also I worked there for a minute. They know how to extend the rail's useful life in a way that we never imagined. They're out there grinding the headrail. They're greasing the rail in curves. They're doing all kinds of stuff to make the infrastructure last as long as possible. And this, given the fact that the railway industry owns all their own right away and just how it was built, they're responsible for it. So the least amount of downtime possible is the end game. And so predictive maintenance, and now, again, you said 5 years. I think AI is going to have a role in that to maybe even tease the emerging technologies panel this fall. We're going to be talking a little bit about artificial intelligence. I know it's a buzzword, and if you've been anywhere near the stock market in the last 3 years, you know what AI is and the excitement around it. But the railroads are already using it, and I think it's just fine tuning. It's fine tuning that maintenance and capital plan to a finite amount. That's what I see coming. I don't see wholesale massive. Now, obviously, there will be bridge replacements. There will be track replacements. But for the most part, the CapEx I see is going to be around the owner's ability to know exactly, surgically repair and maintain their infrastructure. Is that a good, extremely long answer?
It is. And what I love about this, and I know that our listeners as well, I feel like we've all just learned something new. So I appreciate the educational piece of it. I love these kinds of conversations. My entry point into AREMA came 2 years ago, and it's been eye-opening for me. Especially when I sit in on the technical sessions and just the amount of information that's out, the amount of knowledge sharing that's happened, the amount of collaboration that happens throughout the entire railroad industry. So let's grab onto that for just a moment. Collaboration. Who is somebody that you would just love to collaborate with, and what would you collaborate on?
Oof. Wow.
Let's go. Not necessarily a person. Perhaps it's a segment within the industry, or it's an organization. It's a company that you like, that you've been thinking about. Like, it'd be really fun if we could do this kind of a project.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a few answers there. I've really enjoyed my relationship with BNSF. I do want to give them a lot of credit. They have been very forward thinking as it relates to capital planning and maintenance planning. And they have been a really trusted partner for not just me and my career. They were a trusted partner for my previous career with Sensor. I mean, we were looking at we were just looking at some really cool stuff. We were looking at live strain gauge data in bascule spans. And we were looking at how can we use these sensors and deploy them to capture impacts. Metro North Railroad, give them a shout out. Anna Maria Bonilla was phenomenal out there. Such a fun person to collaborate with. She has been in the industry since about '07. And she is in a, to use the word bureaucratic is a good word, but I mean, look, they've got a lot of funding. They got a lot of people they're moving. They've got multiple sources of funding. And she's just constantly looking for ways to make that organization better and more efficient. And, she doesn't like the answer that, we've always done it this way. That'll upset her pretty quick. And, that was really how the whole Rail Advise piece came in. And then we were bringing in LiDAR and frankly, the team over there at G-Rex was so fun to work with because the original founder was an inventor, and he took a lot of his profits, and every year he reinvested his profits into R&D, and was always trying to find the next cool thing. Actually, one of my guests that's coming to the stage this fall, Michael Liesenfeld, he is currently an engineer with Tesla. He was in the industry. So he left University of Florida, and he actually was one of the key inventors for this backscatter X-ray technology that they were using to look through railroad ties. So he gets the industry, but he's such a high level thinker. Like, I can make it maybe one beer with him at the bar, and then I'm lost. I love the guy because he'll just keep going. By the second beer, I'm like, okay, man, we're going to have to talk about baseball. But yeah, I guess what is really cool is I've given you a few examples, but all of the owners, Union Pacific, CSX, Norfolk Southern's been great to work with, Ed Sparks, Ruth Brown, I'm throwing all these names out there. All of them have been they're all under pressure. They're all under pressure to keep trains going safely. But they're all willing to listen to ways that we as an industry can help them do their job better. And I think that's the key right there. That's the takeaway. That's the soundbite is for the industry. It can be an industry that is, how do I say this? It's an industry that can be intimidating, and it can look old fashioned from the outside, from a person's perspective of a layman. But this industry is cutting edge, and they are willing to listen to any entrepreneur, anybody that's in the industry that has an idea. They will give you the time of day. They will listen to your pitch. They will probably provide you with constructive feedback, and they will probably make your product better. And they'll do it hand in hand in the spirit of the greater good of the industry. And I think that right there is pretty cool and pretty unique to our industry.
Yeah, I can only imagine the person who came in with the first, like, I think we can use LiDAR in the railroad industry. Somebody had been like, you got my attention. Let me know how it is that you can think of this working. I sat in on that LiDAR session last year, and it was just eye-opening as to how it's being implemented and how it's being used. I mean, it really is. You're right. It continues to be on the cutting edge. And I, as a layperson coming into this, I was like, oh, railroads, that's old school stuff. But I've been amazed, and I shouldn't be, because that's the human ability of curiosity and problem solving. That's exactly what we do. So I want to take a moment. You talked a little bit about BNSF, and they've been wonderful. My first year in, Mr. Trent Hudak was the incoming president. I've had some lunches with him. My parents live in Kansas City, so I've had a chance to meet with him. He, last time I was there, introduced me to Chris Van Dieven, I believe is how you say his name. And I had a chance to visit the hump yard in Kansas City. I saw Intermodal. What? It's phenomenal, right? Just, it's so big. It's so complex. I want to come back to Trent. Trent just retired at the start of the year. This is somebody who's dedicated his entire career to the railroad industry. He's done a lot of great things. And we know that as when we're 20, like, oh, I got my whole life. Like, that's so much time. And then suddenly you're into, like, you probably have a couple of phases left, like maybe 2 decades left in this industry, and it's going to be over before you know it. So with that, this is my question. is what is on the horizon for Walt Bleser? What are the things that you still want to accomplish during your legacy in our industry?
Oof, man, that's a tough question. Honestly, I think it's. I don't want to say been there, done that. I've scratched the itch on a few things. The startup thing has been fun. I think it's going and working with great people, but it's also mentoring staff. And I think if I could sum it up, I think the word inspirational. I think if someone's listening to all this and I get someone who's 22, 25, 30 to set them down a career path that's rewarding, and it's because of maybe some teeny little soundbite that we've put out there in the last 5 years, boy, that would be cool. That would be a proud moment. I'm not trying to take over the world by any means. I tend to get really excited about certain problems, or I get excited about like I keep going back to that rail, the software project. The FRA comes out and says, "Thou shall do this," and all I saw was an opportunity. I was like, "Oh, okay. Not only can we comply, but we can make the industry better. How cool is that?" Right. And so I go on these like 2, 3, 4 year spurts where I just get real excited about something, try to make the industry better, try to inspire people, try to work with. I love working with smart people. I'll be honest with you. I'm probably the dumbest guy in the conference room when it comes to the people that I've worked with. I do that on purpose. Like I always like, especially Sensor. Oh man, my team there, I didn't understand 50% of what they were saying. We had mechanical engineers, software engineers. We had a data scientist, 2 of them. We were doing neural networks. We had a gentleman named Brett Story, Dr. Brett Story out of SMU, come down, who's actually presented at AREMA a few times, teaching neural networks. And I said, that was a great presentation, Brett. Like, really enjoyed it. Now, do you have the one that you wrote with like a crayon on a piece of white paper that you could use to explain that to me now? Because I think my team got it, but now, and I will never forget it. He did. He was. There's a neural. I don't want to go down a long story, but with neural networks, there's a voting system, and he was explaining it using numbers and how the data looks. And he basically said, "All right, for you, Walt, what I mean is, if we have a conference room table and a piece of data is shaped like a ball and it rolls down the table, and each person sitting there, if that person recognizes the ball, they put their hand up, and at the end we just count their hands. Do you understand that?" And I said, "Okay." He's like, "That's kind of what we're doing. I mean, maybe don't quote me on that," which I just now put it on an international podcast. But that's so. Yeah, just I want to continue over the next 20 years to surround myself with people smarter than me. I love being the cheerleader for the industry. I got in this industry. The only reason I'm here, I probably should have been a business major. Honestly, I probably should have been in finance, but I will never forget. I was at dinner with my dad, and he said, "What are you going to do in college?" I was like, "I don't know." And I said, I'm thinking about maybe mechanical engineering. He's like, "Yeah, you're never going to graduate engineering school." And I said, "Oh, challenge accepted." And then here we are, And so it's cool to understand what a lot of the technical piece of it, but I really enjoy sales. I just enjoy the people side, which is odd for someone with an engineering degree. But surrounding yourself with great people, inspiring people, working on complex stuff so when 5 years from now, my hope is that members of my team and teams with an S can get on a podcast and talk positively about their experience working on said project. That would be that's my goal.
Okay. Excellent. I've one last question too. We have a few minutes left here, so I've one last question, and I think this brings us back full circle from where we started. We started talking about being a part of the association and volunteering and being on the committees and being involved with AREMA. It's really the best place to build these relationships. what are you looking forward to for the 2025 conference? What are some of the things that are on the docket that you know of? What are some of the things that you're going to be doing? Where can we find you? What are you going to be doing at the conference? So just give us a Walt Bleser 3-2-1 for what you're looking forward to for AREMA 2025.
Yeah, the national conference is my favorite event of the year. I've actually enjoyed going to it all the way since I think my first one was 05. It's kind of like old home week to go there and just see everybody in one room. We're trying hard. I'm trying very hard to convert a conference that has historically been very much 1.0 or kind of like web 1.0 to 2.0. And what I mean by that is instead of just all talking at you, I very much am trying to help guide us towards a conversational. And we're already seeing it. We had an amazing railway bridge symposium this past February, and there's the AREMA headquarters staff has been phenomenal in trying to meet the needs of all the speakers and to make this more 2.0. They've got a great app now. I know you're familiar with it. I believe it's AREMA 365, and it allows people to text questions, live questions to the speakers. I think that has been it's been a learning curve, but boy, at the Railway Bridge Symposium, it was great. We got lots of questions. People were able to respond to them quickly. Probably more questions on technical presentations than I've ever seen. Because with the technical nature of these projects and the individuals that work on them sometimes don't have the want or need to be the guy that stands up and walks over to the microphone in front of a crowd of 100 of his peers to ask a question. It takes a lot of guts to do that. You know that. You work with these. You've done a great job working with our presenters. And we started all this by trying to do a live podcast back in 22 in Denver on Wednesday's general session, which was supposed to be quote a live podcast, but it's just evolved into this emerging technologies panel. And now that's my most exciting thing to do. We got a full hour this year. We're pretty excited about that. So we're doing that Monday general session. We got some cool speakers. We've got, like I said, a gentleman from Tesla, and we have a gentleman from Rail Vision, which is a AI focused product from Israel that they are looking to equip head end units with for detecting stuff that's in the track. It's both safety and productivity related, I believe. So some bleeding edge AI stuff that they're working on. So they'll be talking about AI in the industry. So that's what I'm most excited about. And again, we listen to every survey that comes in. We do our absolute best. The headquarters, the staff listen to what the commentary is, and we do everything that we can to react to it and keep every year trying to make it a little better. This thing's been going on for so long. We're not just going to flip it on its head, right? Because you're going to upset people. You're going to upset people no matter what you do. I've pretty much gotten used to that in my life. So it's the same thing here. We're trying to make small, targeted changes that make for a more enjoyable experience. Moving the expo hours around. So I thought Louisville, I thought was a fantastic conference. We had a lot of positive feedback, and I think Indy this fall is going to build on the success we had there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to going back to Indy again as well, to where my tenure with AREMA started. I'd like to just ask you to give us a plug or a soundbite when it comes to getting involved, even if you've been in this industry since it started, or you're just getting into this. What is the easiest way that people can get involved with being a part of a committee or volunteering? Who should they reach out to? What's the best way they can get into this community?
I would say start within the walls or the confines of where you work. That's to me, step one is get that support. of the people within the confines of wherever you work. Look at who else is part of AREMA that you work with. That is a great first step, because I always think it's easier to wander into a technical committee meeting with a sidekick. So if it's at all intimidating to you, grab a sidekick. I guarantee if you're working in this industry, wherever you work, somebody is probably a member, and they're willing to say, come with me, and go as a guest, join a committee, pick something that interests you, join a technical committee. And then honestly, my best advice is put your hand up. Like, don't just sit there. Don't just sit there with your arms crossed. That doesn't help anybody. But when these committees are talking and they're looking for help or volunteers, put your hand up. It could be something as simple as saying, I can help find the next conference room for our meeting in 6 months. Great. It needs to be done. Like, not a hard thing to do, if depending on your connections. But I think putting your hand up, you will find that you will instantly get respect from the rest of the room when you put the hand up and you start actually doing the work, and then building the subcommittees, et cetera, et cetera. So that's my advice, is join. And then the easy one too is, if it is, to your point, Keith, this is kind of how you got into it. You could just show up to the national conference. I do think that's a lot. It's a lot, but you could do that. And by attending the different technical tracks, you could at least narrow down what's getting you, tripping your trigger, getting you excited.
Yeah. And then also, if there isn't for those technical sessions, is to find those speakers afterwards, after they get done speaking in the hallway, and connect with them and share with them your thoughts, and start building those relationships as well, because there's a lot of work that goes into putting one of those technical presentations together. It takes a lot of nerves to stand before your peers and deliver that. Yep. So giving them just a little bit of encouragement afterwards of how their technical presentation resonated with you is a beautiful way to start building and strengthening that relationship.
I have not met anyone yet that dislikes a compliment.
So we'll wrap up with that. A compliment to you, Mr. Walt Bleser, for being a guest on your own show, and for giving all of us a chance just to get to know you a little bit better. I feel like we could sit here for another hour and just continue to talk and unpack. There's things that I had on my list I didn't even get to, so I look forward to connecting with you at the incoming conference. For all of our listeners here today, thank you so much for joining us on another session of Platform Chats. Our guest today was none other than the creator of Platform Chats and trailblazer in the railroad industry, Mr. Walt Bleser. Thank you so much for joining us today, sir.
Oh, thank you, Keith. And I look forward to seeing you in Indy.
Game on.
Thank you for rolling with AREMA on today's episode of Platform Chats. For further information about AREMA, please visit arema.org or contact us at info@arema.org.